Hey there YouTube, I'm Yukitsu, this is the Yukitsu Times, welcome to my channel. Welcome to a sort of bonus video for Total War Attila. So, one of the things that someone had said is that you can actually defeat the Jute army using nothing but the garrison here in a defense. And I sort of fiddled around and I figured out how they did it, so we're going to try and just show you how to do that. It is a little bit gimmicky, so if you don't feel like doing that sort of stuff, then just hit auto-resolve and let your forces get lost. All they do is they'll sack the town, which will cost you a little bit of money, but it is not the end of the world, so you could also just let it happen. But you can see that they've got this full stack army here, 3,040 troops to my 560 troops. Our plan is to try and actually outright beat this army, so let's go in and see how we do that. Now, there is some RNG based on deployment that'll tell you whether or not this is going to be possible, but most of the time this has been possible. And so we'll get into the finicky details of all of that stuff. Now, if it does turn out in the battle that the arrangement is not as you need it to be, you'll end up going back to this screen if you Alt-Tab out of the game and then force close the program and then load it back up. You'll be brought back to this screen when you boot the game back up, because this is where the save state is. So if you really have to win this battle for some reason, and you don't usually have to, because you could always just, in all honesty, you can just let this get burned down and then you can just rebuild it for a little bit of money. If you have to defend it for some reason, I'll show you how to do that in just a second here. Okay, so here we are, and as you can see, we're on a pretty rainy day, which doesn't really matter too much. They've got a little bit of cavalry, and cavalry automatically gets a free dismount, essentially. And they've set up sort of over here, so what we're going to do is we're going to make our infantry visible, if possible. I think they might be able to... we can put them over here as well. And what we want to do is just get rid of this cavalry fairly quickly, without having to think too much about that in any event. And what we've got out at sea here is quite important. Where do we want to hide this cav? This map is a little bit strange to the side. Alright, so what determines whether or not you can defeat this army here is whether or not their general is somewhere accessible. Sometimes he's in a sort of mass of ships that are protecting him, and that makes it pretty much impossible for you to actually kill him. So we're going to go ahead and just rush this line of ships that he has set himself up with. So basically that's going to give us an opportunity to gun him down, basically. Not really sure how you want to think of it. But in any event, what we're going to do is just put these guys in to their testudo formation. What's going to happen is our cohorts here will throw off their pylum, their javelins, and that'll cause huge casualties. This, I think, actually looks a little bit closer to where we need to be. So they'll throw off those pylum, cause good kills to those lighter cavalry, so those Nordic mounted raiders, not necessarily the most durable of cavalry units, so that'll cause a lot of good casualties to them, or they can run straight into the front of a spear wall. We just have to clear these guys off as quickly as possible before any sort of naval landing can happen. Where we put our barricades doesn't really matter, we just want them out of our way, because we're going to need to be able to sweep from one end of the map to the other. And in fact, you don't have to place it at all, really. I mean, I just place them out of habit, because otherwise I'll start forgetting it when I actually need them. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, and this is important, so we're going to focus our attention on it. Now, your Roman Light Marines will not necessarily defeat the Danish general, so you do have to watch quite closely here. You just want to make sure that at sort of the last second you're hitting this use the whip, which is going to give us that extra jolt of free melee defense that's going to let us actually win in this combat here. So we're going to wait till our Marines are just about inboard here, and we're going to use the whip here, and our troops, you can see, hopping onto the front of their boat. And you can hear that... oh, damn it. Alright, goddamn phone. Okay, so anyway, we're going to zoom in over here. You can see that things are going as they're kind of going here. We're going to hem in these Nordic raiders here, because we do want to kill their cavalry rather than let this happen. Now, it is somewhat 50-50 as well as to whether or not your general, your Marines, are going to be able to kill their general, but you can definitely see that They do put up a good showing considering how heavily outnumbered they're going to be here. So if they don't, you can always reset if you absolutely have to. But we can see that there's a pretty decent chance that we're going to be able to kill his general, especially because his general tends to be near the front. Okay, so over here, we just need our general to hold in a little bit longer over there. Over here, we've managed to kill their Nordic Mounted Raiders, pretty much. We're gonna rush these guys in just to make this go faster. We don't need to be in shield wall formation anymore. Let's just make sure that these mounted guys... You know, all we need is our cavalry for this, actually. Okay, so unfortunately, we did not kill our general. It seems. Which is very bad. Nope, they've rallied. They're gonna get killed here regardless, I would suspect. Our buildings are all burning down, which is probably partly why we lost that melee combat there. That -1 morale does mean that you leave a tick earlier. How are these Nordic Mounted Raiders holding out so well against my Scout Equites here? There we go. Alright, so what we need to do is essentially intercept their units kind of as they come onto the board, and it'll cause a bit of a mass rout. So we need to get our guys down here pretty much, like, immediately. And once they've got sort of enough units sort of running, your units are going to be able to cause them to panic, even if they would normally lose the combat. Nordic band there. Okay, so we need to get these guys down to here fast. So this might not be possible since their general did not get killed in that naval exchange, which is very, very unfortunate, but does happen. I'm not sure we're going to make it here in time either. Alright, so what we're going to do here is try and just distract these units that we've got coming in, these Nordic band, and we're going to try and quickly kill their general. You can see that they're still having some morale problems, even though they have no real reason to. Like, they should have nothing to fear from us here. Still not entirely sure what causes the morale effects here, but we're just getting these guys to be delaying force here. Nordic band can do what it's doing there without us having to worry about it. We're going to move these guys over this way. What's going to happen is, as we do this, as they come off of the boat, those hurlers are going to immediately sort of be considered flanked and in trouble. Of course, they've moved into a flank position around our cohorts, but that's fine. I'm going to move across with our Limitani as well here.
Enemy units have returned to the battle.
And they're going to destroy that tower, that's fine. Alright.
The tower has fallen.
We just need to get around to the other side of this unit here. charge in on that general there. So our exploradores are going to lose at this bout now, but their general is still weakened enough that we should be able to kill him here. I need my Limitani to go over this way. Disengage there, attack his Nordic band. The enemy general is dead.
Has fallen. Our victory grows ever nearer.
And we might be able to get that chain route going here, which is what we're looking for.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display.
The Nordic band here is wavering. We might be able to kill them. Okay. And you can probably tell what I meant earlier by I needed my setup to not get in my way. My barricades. Now, this is still a little bit dicey, but I think you get sort of the idea here of what we're going for. Oops, crap. Now we are running into some problems here. Their units are actually a lot more stable than I thought they would be under these circumstances. We might be able to cause that Nordic levy, however, to chain route. We just have to push through these spears here, which is going to suck just a little bit. And no, actually, that's not going to be possible. Okay, so we actually have to win this fight in this sector here. We could actually potentially get our guys to drag through to over here, cause this to chain route. But once they have enough units that are routing nearby, they tend to actually panic chain run. Like their units will just start to run en masse. And I might be able to use click drag through here. There we go. And once there are this many running units, it becomes easier to start beating them. So this isn't as cleanly as this can be done. Definitely. I've definitely done this cleaner. But it is working. I'm gonna get these bows to stop shooting at us. Those guys are gone now. Scout Equites need to chase these archers. You can see these bows are shaken, even though they haven't fought anybody. Oops, crap. We need to, our Scout Equites are so banged up that we need to send some spear levy, or some archers, yeah, spears to go with them. Man, this is a focus. I'm so bad at focusing. So we need to move through all these running guys here. There's just so many of them. Might do it that way. Oh, crap. We just need those archers to stop firing at my, whatever they're firing at. I don't know, really. And the problem is that these guys, the last few missile troops, tend to not, like, run quite as quickly as I would like them to. This one has a good chance of running because it's running towards the tower with those fire arrows, which makes it much more likely. Okay, we can switch over to those guys. And part of the other problem is that they are moving away from the range of their fleeing units, their own fleeing units' morale effect. So they don't tend to run quite as often in those situations. Alright, just go get them, cohorts. Now we can easily afford casualties here, or of whatever sort. Oh wow, those hurlers are doing a number on my guys. Run faster, cohorts. And these bows are not that shaken up by this. As the other fleeing units come by here, they tend to get a little bit worse, but it looks like these ones are actually holding out a little bit. So we might lose this just on the little last bit of this, but these guys are actually going to start taking some hits from that tower, which is going to be great. If they take maybe 10 casualties, they'll probably run. Alright. So this is actually fairly aggressive. You don't actually try to defend anything in particular. You actually try to run them off as they try and get off the boats. Which is when units are sort of at their weakest. There's actually pretty big penalties for disengaging off. The Danes actually ignore a lot of those, the Danish factions and the Scandinavian factions, but it's still a worthwhile consideration because there sort of seems to be a morale debuff of some sort that's associated with coming off of the boat. We're just going to keep chasing these guys even though we can't catch them. Like, they're a faster unit, light infantry. And we're going to go ahead and speed this up because what's happening is it stops them from firing. And this means that my cavalry can finish up whatever the hell it was doing. And it can go on to do whatever. Oh, wow, it actually did break. They did actually break my cohorts. That's kind of ridiculous. Well, suffice to say, this unit will not have the same sort of luck. Going to catch these Nordic bows pretty easily. We're going to bring the spears in after, and that's just going to be a case of these guys probably breaking while they try to capture the tower. Although there aren't very many broken units near them, so that might not actually be the case, that they might not break. We might have to get our cavalry to wheel around and take one more unit. Nope, those guys just did shatter, so... Yeah, that is the defense of Camiludonum against a naval invasion. So, is it cheesy? I think it kind of is, but I think it's also something that you might want to have in your arsenal if you're playing a game, in particular if you're playing it on Legendary. So they have another unit somewhere. I can't get at it. What's going to happen is that they're going to get an alert saying that they have no ground forces on play here, and that means that I'm going to automatically, by default, win in just a little while here. So I can actually let this run down, and they're going to automatically break after a short while. I think that's how it's supposed to work. Doesn't mean that's going to happen because the AI cheats, but in theory, I'm supposed to automatically win this if the AI goes for too long without any sort of infantry on the ground. So... we're also getting a bunch of kills on people who are just sort of running away here. I think the problem that they're running into is a pathing one, in that every single inch of coastline has been taken. Which is kind of funny. So they can't land their ship here. We'll find out how this ends in just a little while, but I think this might end up a draw, which is not what we want in this situation, because if we get a draw, they get the opportunity to just sort of send in their army a second time, which would be kind of disastrous in a certain sense. Although I really don't see any other ground forces here, and I know that that penalty is applied to me where I automatically lose if I do not have troops on the ground after a certain amount of time. So it could just be a case of the AI cheats. The AI does in fact cheat a lot, so it would not surprise me. Quite a lot of settlement damage considering that it's raining and they don't have anything that actually attacks my settlement, but... you know, sometimes that sort of stuff happens. Alright, I don't want to get my guys close to this boat because those hurlers would actually do a lot of damage to me if I got in close there, but we'll find out what's going to happen in just a few short minutes. It's so annoying that this sort of stuff happens. And this is another case where I was telling you how to sort of reset the game, reset the battle. This is one of those cases where that's perfectly fine because... honestly, there is coast for them to land, they're just not doing it because the AI was set on landing here and got disrupted. And it's just like, now I don't know what to do, which, you know, it's much improved over the last edition, honestly. But I can kind of understand why in Medieval 2 Total War they made the decision to abstract naval combat, like there are no naval battles in Medieval 2 Total War. Alright, so we can't see anybody left on the field on their side, like anywhere. But that doesn't mean that they don't have troops milling around somewhere in the fog of war that I just can't see. But more than likely, this one's just cheating its way to victory here. A draw, rather. Yep, okay, so AI's a cheating dick. Either way, they lost 1,534, which is still good enough for my intents and purposes for discussing this sort of thing. There's also the chance that they'll back off. So anyway... that is how you defend Camiludonum without an army. So, anyway, I hope you found this video enjoyable, and of course, as always, I hope to see you all next time.